We all love it when the marketplace is flowing. Clients are flowing, cash is flowing, everyone is happy. It feels like sales are easy. But when things shift, it can quickly identify vulnerabilities in our businesses. I'm Dr. Nadia, founder of the Doyen Agency and host of Sales Culture Unfiltered. And today we're diving into having a conversation around revenue resilience. And I'm talking about two of the six key indicators that I review with clients as we're looking at are they vulnerable and what we need to do to fix it. Tune in. Welcome to Sales Culture Unfiltered, the podcast where we get real about what actually makes or breaks high-performing sales teams. I'm your host, Dr. Nadia Y. Brown, a sales culture and communication architect, and I work with sales leaders to engineer high-impact teams that hit their numbers without burning out or breaking down. On this show, we dive into unfiltered conversations with sales leaders, industry experts, and high-performing teams about what it really takes to drive revenue, retain talent, and build a winning sales culture. If you're tired of surface-level advice and want the strategies, challenges, and hard-won wins that actually matter, you're in the right place. Let's get into it. Recently, I've been talking a lot about revenue resilience. It is how you keep your revenue continuous and not be on the revenue roller coaster, particularly when things get a little challenging. And that could be from something in the marketplace, it could be something personal. Like there are a lot of things that can happen that can cause things to be a little shaky as it relates to revenue. And when things are good, it's easier to just kind of ignore some of the gaps or some of the structural issues that can make you a little more vulnerable in certain areas in your business. And so I want to talk about two of the six key indicators that I review to really look at what's going on with your actual revenue in your business. And today we're going to talk about pricing and positioning. Those are two big ones. And I think about um, some of my clients and just some of the work that we've done around even pricing and positioning. And sometimes when you hear pricing, you're like, Nadia, I don't know that I need this conversation. Like, we're good. We have high prices. But it goes a little bit deeper than just the number. Like we look a lot deeper than just the number on the top. We also look at all the things that make it up to see, is this price actually profitable? Are you making money or are you losing money? Just having a high number, high ticket price doesn't always mean it's profitable. And of course, there are those scenarios when the prices are very obviously low. Like we don't have to do a lot of work. I think about a client I worked with many years ago. We'll call her Andrea. And when I first started working with Andrea, she was leading a great business in helping clients deal with confidence, deal with just being more reassured. There was some spiritual components to it. And it was great. She was an awesome, awesome lady. And when we first started working together, though, when she reached out, um, her prices, like it was the first thing. I was like, girl, we cannot do this. So let me give you a little bit more of a backstory because you're like, Nadia, stop, tell me. So with that, like I said, Andrea and I, we met and then we decided that, she really wanted support with not being the sole salesperson in her business. That was the ultimate crux of it. And so coming in, I was like, well, before anyone can step into this, these are some of the things that we need to understand. One is how much is it? And at the time, she was selling $50 sessions. Yeah, you heard me. I'm not speaking. $50 sessions. And at the time, her business was a little on the younger side or lower revenue side. So she hadn't yet crossed the 100K. She was close though. She was very close, around probably around 75, 80. She was really close. And but I was like, girl, we're selling $50 sessions. And when your pricing isn't together, and I use this because I feel like it's probably one of the most extreme examples that I've come across in my work is that $50 sessions, you have this goal to hit at least 100K. Let's also look at the other things that are happening in your life, even outside the business. At the time, she had like a preteen daughter, a husband. They want to do things together. There's things that she wants to be able to do with this business. She wants to grow her team. You cannot do that if that's all you have to work with. So I just did some basic math. I was like, this is, okay, if this is what you're doing, this is how much time it takes to do these. And then you still have to sell them. That takes time to have conversations or whatever it is that you're doing and running, or you need revenue money to invest in ads or whatever, like your strategy to bring the people in to buy the $50 session. But then you are the person that's actually delivering the said session. So we walked through that math. It wasn't that difficult when the light bulb was pretty quick to come on and like, okay, this isn't going to work. So the first thing we did was restructure things, shift the price so that now she has space. She has buffer. She has, what's the word I'm looking for? Margin. That's the word. She has margin, because what will happen is sometimes even though your revenue is going up, your margin is shrinking, whether that's your profit margin or even your time margin. Like you just don't have the time to continue to do all the things. So Andrea was an amazing client. And like I said, we shifted her pricing, created the margin, created a different type of offer. But when we did that, though, we also simultaneously shifted her positioning, because her positioning and who would now be able to walk in and work with her. So full transparency, we went from $50 sessions to a 10,000 work with me for a year program. I don't remember all the bells and whistles, but that's essentially what we did. And there were some other parameters, but basically going from a $50 session to a $10,000 program, vastly different. So not only did we shift the price, we also shifted her positioning, which means that most likely, not always the case, but most likely the people that are coming in to now work with her look vastly different from the people that were over here. There were some that could cross over, but not necessarily. And when you've been positioning yourself as a low cost leader, or you're just kind of, this is what we do, this is who we serve, and then you shifted, there is sometimes people they don't make the jump. So that's really important to understand. So now we have the pricing and the positioning challenge of being able to move. Thankfully, that wasn't a big deal. The next year, she easily crossed the six figures, and within two-ish, 2.5 years, she was, well on her way to about 500,000 in actual revenue. There were things that we were able to get done. Now, that was a whole lot of things, but it started with adjusting pricing and positioning. And like I said, this was a very extreme example, but a lot of times clients will come to me and they're like, we don't have a pricing issue. Like the price or the investment to work with us is typically sometimes 5 or 6 figures. Great. I'm so excited. Let's look deeper, because just because you have a high price doesn't mean you have enough margin. So we take the time to go through looking at all the different pieces that make that up. Do you pay team? How much of this do you personally have to deliver? Like there are questions that we have to ask in order to make sure that those two align. So when you're looking at revenue resilience and you're looking at how do I make sure that my business isn't fragile in one of these areas or vulnerable in one of these areas, it takes time to go through and look at these different indicators. So I invite you today is it's like, okay, Nadia, it's not another basic pricing conversation, because again, I had a client, actually, I'll talk about one of my current clients. When she came to me, she was like, I know I need to be the one to not do sales anymore. Like I'm doing them, I'm having these conversations, I'm the one managing the relationship, but I know that at some point, because her margins, when we started working together, I was like, you're going to run out of margin probably by the end of this year if you continue down this trajectory. So there are some decisions that we have to make, not necessarily around pricing. because her pricing was actually good. One of the challenges, though, was her positioning, which sort of kind of hit pricing in that she has a heart. So a lot of my clients definitely have the heart for who it is that they want to work with. And, studies show, I can't remember the exact number, but it's up there in terms of percentage of women-owned businesses when they start them is because they want to make an impact. There's a difference they want to make, an impact they want to have. Like they start usually, I would call it a heart, and then the profit and the revenue is, sometimes a close, sometimes a distant second. It just depends on the person. And so one of the challenges that she was having is that the heart. So she had offers that were definitely well priced, well positioned. However, she also had offers that were talking to a completely different person, different price. But when you start talking about margins, particularly time margins, how she was delivering over here and who she was even talking to over here was impacting who she wanted to talk to and work with over here. Positioning. So it wasn't necessarily pricing, somewhat, but she had some other stuff to kind of balance that out. That wasn't it. But the positioning piece of it was going to be a problem. Pricing, somewhat too. But again, those two, in my opinion, are very closely related. So when you're thinking about pricing, sometimes it's not that all the pricing is necessarily off. Like you may have done the work to make sure you have margins and you're looking at your time and the deliverables and all the things. However, sometimes we're trying to serve too many people and it dilutes our positioning. So, positioning is basically the story that your market tells itself about you before you get in the room. That's the story they're telling themselves about you, right? However, if you're talking to Susie and Anna and Tracy, Susie, Anna, Tracy, they sometimes get confused. Like, oh, girl, I don't know who you're talking to, and I'm not sure if I'm the right fit. So you have to be strategic. It's not that you can't, but it is definitely about strategy. So going back to my client, Andrea, it's not that she didn't have the heart, because she did have the heart, but she understood that she was going to be out of business with a heart if we did make some adjustments. So we made those adjustments. She stuck to that strategy, I would say probably about a good 18 months. Get the business to a place. Now the revenue is stable. She can afford to make some different decisions from a place of strength because she's not stressing about revenue. We're good, stable, resilient, right? Now we can look at, okay, do we still want to serve these people that may not be in this position? They may be in a different position. They may be doing something else. They may have a different personality, blah, 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 right? Now we can do that. And then we were able to create something that could now serve people in a different position to start adding the tiers. But we didn't start there. We had to start with getting to a place where revenue was resilient. Now, again, it all depends on where you are. She was at a different, definitely a starting point, whereas a lot of times people are already a little bit more established. But that doesn't mean their revenue is resilient. It just means they've been doing this for a while. And a lot of times when things are well, the market is hot and people are just buying things like hotcakes, you don't have to look because the cash is flowing. It's like a party. But then when things shift, now it's time to like, oh, let's look. So if you're in a place where you're like, I'm good, good. Take the time to review those indicators to make sure that you stay that way, like you remain resilient. That's the goal. So looking at your pricing, looking at your positioning are two of the indicators that can easily and quickly impact how things go in your business, especially as it relates to cash flow and the revenue coming in, because we need the cash to keep coming in, right? We want that to happen. Um, and so I invite you to just take a moment and look at your offers. Are these all still profitable? Are they all still necessary? And are they positioned properly for who it is I want to work with now? Because that also shifts and it can change. And we just have to look at being strategic about it. So we know when we're marketing who we're talking to, and we can be clear. And I think, now with the influx and leveraging different tools like AI and things like that, it's making it where we're really having to hone in and use our voices and be even more clear on how we can serve, what makes us different, positioning, right? Our position, who we want to work with, like it's causing us to maybe do a little extra work to really get that clarity so that we can continue to reach our ideal clients. And if you're finding, and one of the things that I often hear is, I need more leads. I need more leads. I need more leads. I need more leads. Sometimes that is very true. You do. However, I want to caution you because, again, if you're attracting a lot of leads that are not a right fit, then it's not a marketing problem. It's a positioning problem. And you have to go back and adjust your positioning. Who is it that I say I want to work with? And make sure that all of that is aligned. Your pricing's aligned, your language is aligned, your offers are aligned. Like all of those pieces need to make sense so that then you can pull the people in. So it's definitely two and two, right? Pricing and positioning. Well, actually, there's four more, but today, two and two. One and one makes two. So you want to look at your pricing and your positioning and just start there. Start with an offer. Start with your favorite, most popular offer. Is it one? Is it profitable? Is it making money or are you losing money? That's a problem. And then looking at the margin, not just the profit margin, your time margin. I feel like that's one that we often overlook, especially as founders, the time, because you need time not only for deliverables, but other pieces of the business that need your strategic insights, you to have the space. Sometimes you just need more white space to think and strategize, to rest. Like all of those things impact your actual performance. So just think about those things. I remember I was talking to a good friend of mine, and also it was a combination of a conversation I was having with a good friend of mine, and also just some revelations that I gotten during some quiet and journaling time that I was having personally. And this was a couple years ago, and we were supporting a client post event. So we had supported her. She had a 3-day event. It was post event. We were having conversations with people. The sales were still coming in. It was awesome. And I remember thinking about how cool that was that she'd done this event and she had this support behind her that now that this event was over, she was now talking to her new clients, everyone that said yes, and relaxing by her pool. Like she just needed to decompress because if you ever hosted a 3-day event, Belly, it's intense. And I was just marveling at this. This is so cool. And at the same time, when I'm thinking about me as a founder and looking at my own margins, that became an issue because I'm like, whoa, whoa, Nadia. The thing was, and I think I said something like, you know what? I think that my business now needs a Nadia, like somebody that does what I do for others in my own business, which sometimes is true. And then I had my continued jotting down of the notes, and it was like, no, no, no. It doesn't need it needs you. Like if we were at a pivotal point in the business where I needed to stop being all in all the other things when it came to client stuff. And I needed to take some of that creativity and energy and all the things and apply it over here to what we had going on in my own business. And sometimes as founders, we find ourselves in that place. We're doing all the things for the clients. And then over here in our own business, it's like, whoa, hello. We need your time and attention over here too. And it doesn't mean it has to be a forever thing, but it is one of those moments when you're like, oh, we may need to make a couple of adjustments. And a lot of times it starts with pricing and positioning. Not always, but those are definitely two places I recommend you start. Look there, and then we can go deeper. And I'll talk about the other four as we continue in a future episode. So, again, taking the time when you're thinking about revenue resilience, are we resilient? Is our revenue resilient in how we have our systems in place, the structure, lead flow? We're going to talk about like pipeline, that's one, spoiler alert, and how things are moving in the business, right? So that no matter what's happening around us in the world around us, we're good. Whether it's good and everyone is buying and throwing credit cards around like crazy, or it's a more constricted market and things are a little, tighter and people are taking a little bit longer to make decisions and things are a little uncertain. But we, in terms of internally in your business as it relates to your revenue, are good because we've done the things and we've made the adjustments to make sure that we are resilient. So, your homework, should you choose to accept the assignment, is look at your pricing, look at your offers. Do you still need to have them all? Or are there some things that you can start to phase out? Are there some adjustments that you need to make to pricing, not just from a profit margin standpoint, but also a time margin standpoint? And is your positioning accurate? Or are there some adjustments there also that you need to make? And if you feel so bold, I would love to hear from you. So be sure to reach out to us and let us know. You can email us at hello@thedoyengagency.com and let me know what you've uncovered. That would be so awesome to hear back from you. What adjustments did you make to your pricing or your positioning? Or you're like, okay, Nadia, what's next? Tell me more. All right. So again, pricing, positioning, check it out, review it this week with your team, with your business coach, and report back and let me know what you uncovered. This is Dr. Nadia with another episode of Sales Culture Unfiltered, and I look forward to seeing you for the next episode. Signing off. Bye-bye. That's a wrap on today's episode of Sales Culture Unfiltered. But the conversation doesn't end here. If something sparked your interest today, connect with me on LinkedIn or visit our website at thedoyenagency.com to explore how we're helping sales teams build cultures that last. And if you found this episode valuable, don't keep it to yourself. Hit subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a fellow sales leader. See you next time.